All right, we're now going back to page 14, and we're going to go back to Officer Adam Keeler, who was the 4th officer on scene. Page 14. All right, Keeler, quote, opened the sliding glass door, and the dog was given some treats inside the residence. The dog continued to bark, and it took approximately 5 minutes for it to come outside. Once it came outside, CSO Booth used his catch pole to secure the dog and put it in his truck. Still page 14. So Keller and Sergeant Dahlstrom then entered the house, and they went through the sliding back door. After announcing their presence, the two apparently cleared the whole house. Okay, Keeler, and this has also been another thing. The dead bodies were in the living room. They saw the blood writing. Keeler also reported that there were piles of dog feces all over the floor on both levels of the residence. I know this has been something that we've been kind of going back and forth on. Was there a lot of dog poop? Doesn't look like there's a lot of dog poop in the photos. There's not that much dog poop. I think in that back room, once Dan Hannon got the 662 photos that showed that little back room next to the rear slider, I think that's where a lot of the dog feces was. And I think downstairs they also had one area in the basement where where there was a lot of dog feces there too. So I think it was in separate piles and separate areas. The big thing to know is, was it 3 weeks worth of dog feces in that house? You could look at the photos that we got when there's still hundreds of photos that are missing. But I do think I've seen feces obviously in at least 1 or 2 parts of the basement. You see it a lot in that back room there next to the fireplace. You do see some in the living room area too. There's fresh and there's old feces, old dog feces. There's some that is very, very light tan, and then there's some that looks fresh, looks really fresh. So the question is, would that amount to a dog being in the house by itself, eating on the bodies and nothing else for 3 weeks? So if somebody would want to go through all of the different photos, collect all of the different photos that we have, because what I've been looking at is there is a lot of dog feces there. I do think there is a lot of dog feces. I don't have a dog though, so to me, it wouldn't take much for me to think that it's that much. But for the dog owners out there, if you could help us look at these photos, maybe we can compile one list, one video playlist or one photo playlist that just shows all of the photos that we have where there is dog feces there, and we can kind of go by that. Maybe that will help us understand the whole timeline, and was this dog really in there for 3 weeks? Were these people really in there for 3 weeks dead? I think it'll really help, because we've seen a picture of the dog taken soon after all of this happened, after the bodies were found on January 17th. We did see a picture of that dog, and looks pretty healthy to me. Okay, so Keeler and Dahlstrom clear the whole house. They clear the upper level, clear the garage, then clear the basement. Once the house was cleared, the officers left the residence and they secured the scene until detectives arrived. That's it. That's what they're saying. They didn't touch anything, didn't move anything. At least that's kind of what I'm getting here on page 15. So check that one out. Okay, then we're going to page 17 in my notes. Remember, these are just my notes from the 94 pages. Okay, next we're going to go to page 17, and on page 17 we're going to see Jim Gummert is informed by Dahlstrom at 2 p.m. So the bodies are found at 1, and Gummert is informed at 2, and he arrives at the police station to work with other detectives at 3 p.m. And I have here another note that the BCA arrived after Jim Gummert. Okay, Gummert, quote, assisted detectives McKnight, Tietz, and members of the Dakota County Electronic Crimes Unit. Once the BCA processing team had completed a portion of their work processing the scene, I, along with the remaining detectives, entered the home to assist in the processing. Page 17. Okay, they note the little amount of marijuana on the bedroom dresser, still on page 17. Gummert found a plastic tote in the trunk of one of the cars that contained gun ammunition, medical supplies, water, and an empty handgun case. It appeared to me as if the case was going to be used for a survival kit. Okay, then on page 20, it mentions the neighbors who are living behind the Crowley residence. This male and this female, there's a male and there's a female that live behind the Crowleys. One is 5'10", 175 pounds, 45 years old, white, brown hair with blue eyes. Then there is a female, she's 5'3", 137 pounds, white, brown hair, hazel eyes. And they told two detectives, Detective Tietz and Detective McKnight, that the Crowley home, quote, had been dark since around Christmas, that they hadn't seen the occupants in a long time. The female said her room was on the back of the house and that lights on the back of the neighbor's house would shine into her room if they were on. The female also hadn't seen anyone at the house since the weekend before Christmas school break, which started 12/19. Here they put 2015, but it's 2014. And that would be page 21. They never heard the couple fight. They live right behind them. Never heard them fight. They said Kamel was actually interested in having this female babysit Rania, but the female thought David didn't want her to babysit for whatever reason. Detective Bone and Tommy Booth, and that's still page 21. Now moving on to page 22, Detective Bone and Tommy Booth filed for the search warrant. That's on page 22. And they met with other detectives at the police station. Page 22 also mentions the BCA Special Agents Chris Olson, Gary Swanson, and Michael Phil. Then the BCA crime scene team, Joe Cooksley and Beth Wolf. And Detective Booth states he entered the home with Detective Bone, S.A. Olson, Special Agent Olson, BCA CS Joe Cooksley, BCA CS Beth Wolf. That's still on page 22. Cooksley led this group so the evidence wouldn't be disturbed. So he's leading this group. This is the second time. So the first time is just the police coming in to clear the whole scene, to clear the whole house. Second time is the detectives and the BCA special agents. And they're filming all of this, and they're taking photos of everything. So after their initial walkthrough, Detective Booth and Bone spoke to Brent and Caitlin Millay, who lived at 1048 Ramsdale Drive across the street from the Crowleys, page 23. Brent and Caitlin didn't socialize with the Crowleys, according to what they told AVPD, and Brent saw them last on Christmas Eve. He was going to close the blinds on the front of the residence when he looked out of the window and saw David standing in the front window of David's residence. He said they looked at each other, and then Brent closed his shade while David had turned and walked away. That's page 23. Now, the exact time of the above is not sure, but he says between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve 2014 is the last time that Brent saw David Crowley. Sometime between then. Still page 23. It also says that he did not notice that the Christmas presents were on the front step until today, which would be 1/17/2015, still page 23. So Brent did not even see these presents, or Brett, whatever his name is, he did not even see the presents on the Crowley front residence until 1/17/2015. All right, so then on page 23, it's also mentioned that the medical examiner investigator Greg Spandel and the medical examiner Dr. Jessica Lilinski removed the bodies and collected the bodies and the body parts. Page 23 still. One other detective, Detective Klokonis, and Deputy Olson and Deputy Jacobson helped collect the evidence. That's on page 24. These other detectives, Deputy Olson and Deputy Jacobson, are not really mentioned that much at all. But it's very important to know all of the officers, how many officers were actually a part of this, and the officers that were picking up these body parts, did they look up and see a bullet hole in the ceiling in the living room? Not one of them seems to have looked up and claims to have seen that. And you might ask, why would they even look up? Why would they even? Well, you got to look everywhere. You got to look everywhere. If they look down and saw a bullet hole there through a rug, then they can look up. They looked down, saw a bullet hole through a rug, and still missed another bullet that will roll out of the carpet 3 days later on January 20th. Another bullet rolls out of the carpet. That bullet will be tied to Rania. So on January 17, 2015, police leave the house without the bullet that they will later allege is connected to Rania, and without the bullet that they will later allege is connected to David Crowley. What do they really have on January 17th? Let's go to page 24 of what was found in the house. There is a Kindle Fire with love written on it. It's found in the kitchen. There is an iPhone brown plastic case with a skull patch. That's found in the kitchen. An Apple laptop black with love written on it, found in the kitchen. This Week newspaper found in the kitchen garbage. Rania's report card also found in the kitchen. And there is a document in Kamel's name also found in the kitchen. There is an iPhone with a black case that is found in the master bedroom on top of the dresser. There's a handgun magazine with .40 caliber ammunition also found in the master bedroom, and a tablet with a pink case, and the tablet with the pink case is found in the living room. There is .40 cal ammunition in the trunk of the car in the garage, also in the trunk, Springfield Armory gun case, page 24. If David needed to leave and take his gun with him, he had everything set. He had everything ready.